And what's up, guys? Welcome to another home theater hangout with yours truly, myself. Today, we are going to be talking about a couple of things today. First off, being the F1 movie that just released today on digital. You can pick it up in either digital formats, such as Apple TV, such as Fandango Anywhere, or if you have a Kaleidoscape, you can pick it up there as well. But before we get into that, let's talk about the season premiere of. I don't know. Can you guys hear that sound? Oops, sorry. So, anyways, the season premiere of Peacemaker season 2 dropped yesterday. And I just got done watching that, so I figured it's fresh in my mind. So, why don't we just talk about that really quick? The biggest thing that I might be a little spoiler, so if you didn't see it, I don't know, close your ears. But the biggest thing was, how are they going to bring Peacemaker into the DCU and totally retcon what happened previously? How would they do that? Well, it was just a very simple shot. If you saw Peacemaker season 1, they had that one shot of the Justice League with Barry, Aquaman, Superman, Wonder Woman there. And at the start of season 2, they have Adebayo on the phone say, "Can we get the Justice Gang to help out?" Whereas in season 1, she says, "Can we get the Justice League to hang out?" So in this new one, when she says the Justice Gang, instead of having Aquaman and Barry come down, they have the Justice Gang from Superman show up. So you got Hulk Girl, Superman, Mr. Terrific, and then Guy Gardner show up. And they have a little, I think there's like a little one-liner there. And then that's it. That's how they totally retcon the entire DCEU with that one shot of the Justice Gang. Also, they they touched upon the multiverse or whatever. I guess it's the multiverse in this season, this opening episode. And I liked how they showed it off, like how there could be the multiverse could show like what would Chris's life be if it was a perfect world, if he had a loving father and his brother didn't die. That they kind of explored that a little bit in this opening episode. And he actually has a relationship with Harcourt in his secondary world, which was kind of cool. It was hinted at in this one as well. I guess they had slept together on a boat or something like that during the course of the past 6 months or something like that, because I don't recall them showing that in season 1. But yeah, I mean, a lot of the jokes, I'm still not a fan of the opening. I know the opening of season 1 was pretty popular. Season 2, they kind of do the same thing, just a little bit longer with some multiverse, multi-character aspects into it. I'm still not a fan of that. I still click on skip typically, but I wanted to see how this one played out. We got, Rick Flag is in it from Superman, also Creature Commandos. He's in it as well. I guess his mission is to destroy Peacemaker for killing his son, because he knows that Peacemaker killed his son in the Suicide Squad. It's still the same tonally. It's got that dark humor. It's got the James Gunn jokes in it. Also has some pretty good heart and emotional beats as well. So if you guys are Snyder lovers and you hate James Gunn because he puts too many jokes in it, well, he also puts in a lot of emotional beats in there as well. So I appreciate what he does in his movies. Sometimes the jokes get a little overboard, but I think he makes up with it when he puts those emotional beats into the show. I didn't watch it in Atmos. I watched it in my living room in 5.1, so I don't know how good the Atmos is. The Atmos is pretty good on season 1. Not over the top or anything like that, not like crazy demo worthy, but it was pretty good for season 1. Let me just read the comments, make sure that my voice is coming through. You guys can hear me, right? Just want to make sure I haven't been talking for 5 minutes. All right. And what was I going to say? Visually, it looks the same as the season 1, dark color palette. I'm thinking my living room, I didn't watch in HDR in my living room, did I? No, I didn't. So I can't really comment on the Atmos or the 4K quality. So I'll have to leave that up to you guys. Anyways, good first episode. I'm a fan of it. I'm looking forward to it. I love season 1. It's probably the best thing that Best TV show that DC's put out in a while. I would say that and The Penguin, my two favorite ones. I would have to give the edge to Peacemaker for me personally. Anyways, what's your thoughts on Peacemaker Season 2, Episode 1? Did you guys like it? Leave your comments down below and let me know. All right, let's check in with the chat really quick, see who's here before we dive into F1 the movie. Look at Travis. Unnecessary pixels. Good choice. Are there really no IMAX shots in F1? Anthony's here. What's up, Anthony? Tony James, blessings, bro. Haterade Cowboys up in here. Haterade, I think you're doing a out of home theater reaction as well. So go to Haterade's channel and check out his last out of home theater reaction video. Anthony, the movie was good. Haven't seen Peacemaker. Low spoilers, please. Well, I just pretty much spoiled the entire episode. Sorry, Anthony. Caught it just as you were starting. Yo, Jordan. Hey, Shane, I love Peacemaker Season 1, but I don't have HBO Max subscription at the moment, so I'll check out Season 2 once all the episodes are out. Well, now you know what happens. The Peacemaker show, Season 1 and Season 2, is in 16:9, so it looks just like Superman. So apparently James Gunn likes to shoot in the full screen. I do kind of wish they would have had the switching aspect ratio. For me personally, I kind of like that better. If you're going to shoot with IMAX in mind, I would much prefer that rather than shooting the entire thing. But that's just me. All right. So as you guys know, let's get into F1, the movie. This one just actually re-released in IMAX, I think last weekend, from a little hiatus from having like weapons and all that come out. So it did re-release over the past weekend, and it is now on your favorite digital platforms. Now, this movie was shot in 4, 6, and 8.6K. It does have a 4K DI. Aspect ratio is 239:1, so no IMAX shots, and it is 1 hour and 55 minutes long. Or 155 minutes. So we do get a full-on 4K DI on this, and let me bring this up right quick. None of my screenshots have showed up here. Anyways, for the folks that don't like the IMAX scenes in their movies and think that there are wasted pixels in F1, let's just add this to the scene right quick. So this comes to us via YM Cinema. So IMAX format, the huge canvas. The footage confirms that this film is designed for the IMAX canvas, with much of it being shot using custom cameras adapted for the format, as discussed in IMAX 190.1, which is, I believe, this video clip down there. The decision to shoot for IMAX was not an afterthought. It is a core element of the film's visual language. The new behind-the-scenes clip includes sample footage captured by the Sony 6K camera, and when viewed on a large screen, it clearly showcases the impact of shooting for vertical resolution and extreme clarity, even in fast-paced scenes. The motion is smooth, the details are crisp, and the audience is fully immersed in the race. So this, indeed, was shot with IMAX in mind. So it was not totally an afterthought or framed just for 239:1. So Kaczynski did want you guys to see this movie in the full IMAX ratio, despite some naysayers that might be in the chat. Anyways, this is F1. Let's talk about the video quality really quick. I don't know if this is going to translate really well because these are HDR screenshots, but I think this might look a little bit dark on your screens. But F1, this is, we shot with like special Sony cameras that were meant to fit inside the cockpit of the cars, of these F2 cars that were disguised to look like F1 cars. And it does have very much the similar interior look of what we got in Top Gun Maverick, of him sitting inside the cockpit, which looks very much just like this here. So, of course, when I saw this as IMAX, you do get the extra pixels on the top and on the bottom. And if you are watching this on a large screen such as IMAX, obviously it would take up more of your field of view. But unfortunately, we only get the sliver, which is in the middle of the IMAX canvas. It still looked really great, though. I am a big fan of how this looks. I mean, coming from Superman, which was also shot all digitally, this is actually cleaner looking than what was on Superman. This is, I would say, 4K crisp quality. Details are off the charts on this one. The only really low quality shots are going to be some of these flashback scenes of Brad Pitt and of the other guy there. The older guy, I forgot his name. But this was, they tried to de-age Pitt in this scene, and it's kind of blurry and soft and made to look like I think like an old 480p VHS shot or something like that. So this is the only real thing that is kind of low quality in the entire movie. But I mean, look at that. Look how crisp that is. You can see all of the text and everything in here. I mean, it's just crispy, crispy, crispy clean. Again, some more race shots as well, which would have been more impressive, I think, in the 1.90 aspect ratio. Fortunately, not the case. Brad Pitt looking dapper as always. He must have a great hairstylist because that dye job on his hair looks natural, even though he's got gray stubble on his facial hair. Idris Damson looking dapper also. One thing I don't know if you guys are aware. Let me see if I can find the shot here. There's a big, if you are a watch guy, who is the main sponsor of the race in this movie? Brad Pitt actually had a special, well, they actually made a special watch designed after the watch that Brad Pitt wears in this movie. And if you know the answer, leave it down in the comment section. Anyways, great movie. The HDR isn't what I would call extremely bright. I mean, the darker shots do look nice. There's detail everywhere. You can see all of the detail, all the Apple product shots. I mean, they're just crispy and clean. Dark shots, I didn't notice any kind of black crush or anything like that. The specular highlights, I mean, we do have some flames. I would say digital flames in the movie, which do look good. They're not extremely bright. I wouldn't say anything really pops crazy, super vivid, anything like that. The color palette is natural for the most part, if not a little slightly muted, I would say. Slightly muted. Just like this as well. I mean, you can kind of tell here the palette, the saturation here in his face and all that, not quite as peachy as it would look if it was a little bit more vivid. So I would say kind of a neutral, muted, somewhat color palette to everything here. I think it's got like a max CLL of something like 364, 365 or something like that. So not an HDR barn burner. Whoops. I just took that off the screen. Let me add that back. But still, I mean, if I was going to give this a rating, it would definitely be in the high nines, maybe like a 9.8, 9.9. I would assume once it comes out on 4K Blu-ray, probably a 10 because it's just really clean. I don't know. I mean, if you're somebody that wants a lot of that HDR 10 Dolby Vision colors, then you might not give it a 10. So it might be like 9.9. But for me, on the Sony Bravia 8 at 150, also on the Sony 98-inch Bravia 5, it looked pretty fantastic. And this is, by the way, on the Apple TV. If you have something of better quality, it may look better. But for right now, we're just talking about the digital stream, which is now available for everybody at the affordable price of $24.99, $25. So let's go ahead. Let's get into the audio mix. This does have a Dolby Atmos mix. And if you guys don't know what kind of gear that I use in my videos to use for these 4K reviews, there will be some links down in this video's description. So let's kick this off. Opening scene at the beginning of the movie. This comes in at about 2 minutes 54 seconds in. I switched things up a little bit just in case people were confused about the graph. So I've labeled all of my channels. Subwoofers are that front row. These the subwoofer placement is not. This is not what the actual speaker placement. This is just just a generalization of where the speakers are located. But I did put instead of putting the video behind the entire screen, I put it in the center of the screen, which is where it would be located in real life from this diagram. So this is at 2 minutes 54 seconds in. And you might think that this has a lot of Atmos in it because all 6 of my top speakers are very active. This is a lot of music and some of the announcers' voices that are coming through the top of the speakers. So it's not exactly as you might think it is. I mean, the cars racing on the bottom channels, yes, they are kind of zipping back and forth within the lower sound stage. But if you look at my left surround 2, right surround 2, that's my second row. At no point in this movie do those ever become active. So just as I said I was going to do in the Superman review, this is not what I would say 2-row friendly. So if you do have 2 rows, most of the surround effects are only going to come out of the first row. So your second row surround speakers are not going to be used at all. Also, the center back surround, I don't believe this popped on at any point in time either. So if you do have a center back surround, nothing is going to come out of those. And I think you can tell here the top speakers that are kind of flickering on and off, that's the announcers talking. Most of the announcers' voices do come out of the front stage, the left, center, and right, and you do get a very light bleed that happens in the top of your height channel. So don't let that fool you. It's mostly just a little bit of ambiance and a little bit of music. So it's not like it's anything really aggressive. Let's go over to 1 hour, 13 minutes. So this is at 1 hour, 13 minutes, or sorry. Yeah, 1 hour, 13 minutes. This is another thing with the announcers. Let me make sure this is showing correctly. There we go. So this is 1 hour, 13 minutes in. And again, we have more racing. As you can see, I think they're about to pit. Yeah, so what you're seeing in the top, middle, and back speakers is the announcer's voice. So in the back speakers, the announcer's voice sounds actually kind of garbled. But if you mute it and you listen to it, it's pretty clear and it comes out of the center channels, but it's very low. However, most of the announcer's voices, again, will come out of the left, center, and right. So most of this stuff here, all this racing, if you can make that out in the screen, all of that is just in the lower half. And they're on the gas pretty hard. And there's nothing in the top speakers. Now, you would think, like Top Gun Maverick, or you're sitting inside the cockpit of this race car, you would get the sensation that they would put some kind of ambiance in the inside of the cockpit to make it sound like you're sitting in there, so you would get engulfed with sound. However, there's nothing going on in those high channels. Every time you would get an interior cockpit shot like that, nothing happens in there except for the announcer's light extension up in the top middle and also in the top back. If you have 4 top channels, maybe you'll get a little bit more immersion. But for me, having 6 tops, only the middles and the backs really become active when you hear the people talking, the announcers. So that's about 1 hour, 13 minutes in here. We have one at 41 minutes in, 41:12. Again, this is another race. Not much happening in the top channels except for the announcers. Most of the stuff, again, all the racing, all the cars zipping in the background does happen in the lower channels. And again, nothing happening in the second row. Now, you just saw the wide channels light up. So you do get some good wide channel usage here and there throughout the course of the movie. But again, most of it does remain mostly kind of like in a 7-channel configuration with some light extension up to the top, which is mostly music and stuff like that. And one more scene here. Let me bring it up. This is at 13 minutes 54 seconds. Again, another race scene. And you can see the car driving in the lower speakers. And it's all basically just in the lower channels. So, kind of a disappointment, really. I mean, I remembered this being a little bit more aggressive, well, a lot more aggressive when I saw it in IMAX. And there's really just nothing happening in this mix. I did watch this on Apple TV again, so if you're watching this on a better source, maybe it would sound better, but I'm going to wager it's probably not going to sound too much better. There's definitely not going to be added top channel activity for Atmos. So if you're watching it on the Apple TV, on digital, or on the 4K Blu-ray, that's not going to change where the sounds are going to be placed. It's placed where they're placed, and that's what it is. It might sound a little bit more cleaner sounding, a little bit more detailed, but as far as the overall immersion, it's going to be no bueno for you guys. So I was really disappointed in it. I also had to jack up the volume just about as loud as I did for Superman. So for both of those, which are also both Warner Brothers releases, I had to go to a negative 12 on Superman. I had to also go on a negative 12 on F1, the movie. So is it going to be any different in the physical format? I don't know. I guess we'll have to find out. As far as the bass response, bass also sucked as well. I was hoping for a lot more bass because in the IMAX stuff, the IMAX version had a lot of bass in it, just booming bass, sometimes overbearing when I saw it at my local IMAX. Here, not the case. Very low. I would even say Superman had more bass than this. So I was disappointed in the bass response. Also, the overall volume, you did have to turn it up. The volume, there are some medleys in this movie. Some montages, my bad. There's some montages in this movie of like some training, of Brad Pitt training and racing and working out, stuff like that. Like Rocky used to do. And they play some pop music. I don't know what song it is, but there's some pop music playing in the background of these montages. And I also remember this sounding a lot more boomier at the theater. Whereas this whole entire workout montage is just really low. It just lacked any kind of dynamics, which is very disappointing. Even if you turn it up, like when I had to turn it up to get these race scenes to sound a bit more aggressive, after the race would end and we'd go back to the characters talking in the pit or something like that, the voices would just be so loud. It'd just be overbearingly loud. So the differences between just regular speech and all the other action just wasn't a good balance. So I was very disappointed in this Atmos mix. So I don't know what's going on this year for some of these big Hollywood movies, man. Superman, Mission Impossible, this. The only exception I would have to say is maybe Sinners. Sinners had a pretty good mix. Not crazy fantastic, but definitely I would say better than the ones that I just mentioned. But anyways, if I was going to rate the audio mix on this, I'm just gonna go right in the middle here. Maybe not in the middle. I'm gonna give it like a 6 point. Let me just give it a 6.5. I think my expectations were really up here and it really delivered way down here. 6.5 for the Atmos mix for me. Also, I'm gonna go 9.8 for the video. So big discrepancy there. Great video quality, very disappointing audio quality. Anyways, those are my thoughts on F1 the movie on digital. Have you guys seen it? What did you think? Was your experience different than mine? Did it sound better on your system than it did on mine? How did you like the video quality? Leave your comment down below and let me know. If you do want to pick up this movie, I will leave some links for it down below in this video's description. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Be sure to like this video if you found it useful, and I'll catch you again in the next video. Okay, so I will, of course, clip that out. So what do we got here? Anything interesting? Big fan of what we got here. Tony James, hey Shane, biggest fan of your reviews. Thank you, my man. So I have a question. Are you willing to do World Trade Center 4K review? Am I willing to do it? I don't know. I don't recall it. If that's the Nicolas Cage movie, I haven't seen it forever. Unless it's got a banging mix and it looks fantastic. I mean, I might watch it, but I don't know if I'll review it unless it's really good. No IMAX shots is a huge blow, in my honest opinion, to the point that I probably won't buy it on 4K until it drops to $13-ish. Yeah, I mean, I definitely wouldn't pay $40 for it. Huge no no. If you're gonna spend $40, you just wasted $40. Wait another 30 days to pick it up on sale. I mean, $25, I can kind of see $25, but 40 bucks, not so much. Very disappointed, my man. Ferganar. There have been a few videos about aspect ratio lately. A lot of the older veterans don't like the IMAX scenes as they all have scope screens. I mean, I get it. I used to have a scope screen. I used to get really annoyed by it, so much so that I almost went and got a Mad VR Envy just so I could shrink down the IMAX stuff. I mean, when I did use the Mad VR with their aspect ratio switching, I thought it was something I couldn't live without. I thought it was a game changer until you realize that you're really meant to see those 16 by 9 shots in a bigger aspect ratio than you're meant to see it in the scope shots. So it made more sense for me to go 16 by 9. F1, like many other movies that came out in IMAX screenings, have different aspect ratios. Kaczynski may have wanted his movie to be presented in 239 to 1 aspect ratio rather than 190. Well, Spike, I had read a little excerpt from YM Cinema that would totally debunk that. So if you missed it, scroll back and you can see that. You can see that article. I just started to research the front wide Scatmos thing. I'd never heard about it and still confusing how it's done. The Scatmos thing. Are you talking about putting two receivers, stringing two receivers together? Because if that's the case, you can listen. If you're going to do that, it's like, unless you're just extremely, you just have really, I don't want to offend anybody. If you can't afford an inexpensive receiver, I mean, you can get them now for like a few $100 that supports Atmos wide channels. Don't string together multiple receivers. That's just retarded, man. It's stupid. Haterade, Apple streaming TV shows have incredible Atmos tracks. Don't know how they drop the ball on this. Yeah, we were just talking about this today. Like, their movies, great Atmos mixes. What is that? The Fountain of Youth. That actually has a pretty good Atmos mix. The shows have a good Atmos mix. Pretty much every Apple movie I've seen had a good Atmos mix. This one really dropped the ball. Hold on, this audio keeps popping up. Yeah, in 916 thread, it was 90% top middle plus rear top height. Hardly any in the top front heights at all. Oh, look at that. I guess those guys are paying attention as well over there. What about Final Reckoning? Did you have to set the volume higher? I did have to set the volume higher, but I don't think I did have. I don't think I had to do it as much. You can catch the previous video that I did for that, which was I think 2 days ago now. Could it just be Apple TV thing? I've heard some Kscape guys say it has lots of real Atmos on that platform. I can guarantee you, it's the exact same as the Apple TV. There has never been a case where the Apple TV mix and the Blu-ray mix, the 4K mix, the Kscape mix was any different in putting sounds in different places. Doesn't happen. Now that can still sound very immersive. Huh? I mean, the movie still sounded all right. It sounded decent. It sounded decent enough. You turn it up, you still can get some pretty good action. If you haven't seen it and you didn't hear it at the theaters and you're just cranking the volume, then sure, it can sound pretty good. I've heard Kscape promoters suggest that there is better Atmos on that platform compared to even 4K Blu-ray. Also, I've heard guys that say that Trinov unlocks the real Atmos, but I doubt that. The real Atmos, well, suggests that the Atmos is better than something else. I mean, I guess that could just come down to how it's maybe the bit rate. Well, the Kscape and the disc ideally should be identical. Obviously, the digital stream is going to be more compressed, so it's not going to be as as detailed as refined. But that's going to be the only real difference, really. I haven't heard a difference between the Kscape Atmos and a disc personally. I like to think my system was pretty good, pretty resolving. Um, Hold on a second, close this off. And I haven't noticed anything major league between the two. Not really better Atmos on Kscape, just higher bandwidth. Man, I would probably debunk that one as well. I would say no on that one also. I mean, they're both getting the same exact Atmos mix. They're not getting a better Atmos mix. They're both the same lossless or less lossy mixes for both. The video bandwidth, on the other hand, yeah, that'd be different. As for Trino, the processing is better, and they use the Atmos source, so their decoding is probably the most accurate. I mean, I said this in my review of the Trinov that when I had it against the Marantz, I think it was like the 8805, 8806. I mean, I've had a lot of processors in here, and even without using the optimizer, you could tell just the sound placement just seemed better. It just seemed at least easier to pinpoint and locate where the things were moving in space. So I think it comes down to like the processing, of course, and how it does it. Is like the real version. I don't know if it's a real version, but it definitely processes it. What I think is better. And of course, you can tailor that down once you start doing your calibration with it. In my understanding, Scatmos is better than the wides in Atmos. And Atmos wides only activated by objects. Nope. So many movies are not mixed that way. Scatmos supposed to have front wides all the time. Man, listen, if we're referring to putting the two receivers together and you matrixing out wide channels, and sure you can do that. Or listen, if you have a Trinov, you can just double up on the wide channels. That's not a big deal. Or if you want to have DTS Neural X will upmix and always keep your wide channels active. Also, I believe the new version of if you're a Trinov owner, I believe the new update with the new UI is going to bring the newer decoding formats for all Dolby and DTS. So the newest Dolby decoding will also enable wide channels all the time for you Trinov owners out there. But if you want to keep your wide channels always active, then just use DTS Neural X. But would a car movie have things coming overhead? I mean, if you were sitting in a cockpit of something going 180 miles an hour, do you not think there's going to be some kind of sound covering your entire periphery? Of course there would be. Of course. Why wouldn't there be? Of course there would be. All right. Well, that wraps it up for all the questions. We're gonna call this end for tonight. Anyways, guys, thanks for checking out tonight's stream. Did you watch any of these? Did you watch Peacemaker? Did you watch F1 the movie? What are your thoughts on all of these? Leave your comments down below. If you do want to pick up anything that I've mentioned in this video, either Season 1 of Peacemaker or F1 on 4K Blu-ray, I will leave some links for it down in this video's description. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you guys in the next video.